Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Amanda Miller. I'm with Forward Motion. This is Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
We are here with the Get Your Money Right podcast brought to you by Forward Motion. At Forward Motion, our mission is creating generational prosperity one family at a time. So we're super excited to bring this podcast to you for a different layer of content and a lot of great information that we're going to be able to talk about. We're going to be able to share and learn together. Our goal here is to help you move forward. We talked a little bit about what we were going to do today. And obviously, this is our first podcast. So lots of fun about to happen. Bear with us. But, we're going to bring the energy. We've got a lot of great topics that we'll talk about today. We'll start to dig in a little bit into some of our methodology and how we think about moving forward. My background, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, on 48th Street between Rozier and Baseline. So everything in between, we had a really great upbringing, loving parents, and we had let's call it audacity. We had the audacity to learn some things the hard way, and that's good, right? Because today, Sarah is a registered nurse. Talk a little bit about what you do.
So I'm a registered nurse at Phoenix Children's, and I work in surgery right now. I'm a supervisor there. So I've done that for about 11 years now. It's crazy to say that.
Crazy, yeah.
But I love it still and work with kids. They're crazy and fun. And yeah, that's what I do. And it took a while to get there, but.
Yeah, but you figured it out. I'd say you figured it out before I did. You busted your butt, went to school, and really proud to be able to say, and I brag about you. Sarah's my sister, so we all we brag about each other. I think 11 years is a long time to be doing something. And I'm sure there are a lot of lessons that you've learned over the course of that time that don't just pertain to nursing, right? That pertain to life.
Oh yeah.
Myself, I am a sales manager. I've been a trainer, sales manager, for a number of years, at least 5 years. And I have a background in culinary arts as well. So I am a certified, or I have a degree in culinary arts through Le Cordon Bleu. I've opened restaurants. I've owned a catering company. I've chefed in some really great restaurants around the country.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, sorry, I didn't figure it out before you. Like, you've had a lot of amazing adventures before. You've just had different ones before me. I had one path, you had many paths. I wouldn't say I figured it out before.
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk about some of my many paths. It's funny, I talk with folks who've known me for a long time, and I've worn a lot of different hats, and today I still wear a lot of hats. As a regional sales manager, I lead a team. I've got about 15 people on my team, and I work in the energy space in solar. And we started Forward Motion. It was actually kind of, I would say, my brainchild, my baby. I kind of had this epiphany one day. I'm sitting in the home that I own, and I've been able to purchase and afford the vehicle that I want. And those are things, right? But at the end of the day, taking different vacations and being able to, and teaching myself and learning to invest and really just diving in and starting to create generational wealth for my family a number of years ago. And I kind of sat back and I was like, man, what I went through to get here, right? And so what I kind of thought about, I was like, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I'm not saying that mistakes are bad. Mistakes are good. But some of the mistakes that I made, I see people making similar ones. And I don't think that it should have to take someone, 30 years to realize or learn some of the things that, I'm always like, each one teach one, right? And so I've got the knowledge now. I'm an avid investor. I'm a homeowner. I own a rental property and continuing to grow that side of it. And so we started Forward Motion in order to teach and to help the masses. And really, also we'll talk a little bit about the wealth gap as well, because that's the piece that I'm really passionate about, is just closing that gap and helping everyday people get an opportunity to have the American dream, the real American dream, right? Creating generational prosperity, one family at a time. Anything else that you wanted to kind of share when it comes to like the intro piece of it, like who we are, who you are? Well, Sarah's on the board of Forward Motion.
Yeah, I'm on the board of Forward Motion. I'm happy to be a part of it. Amanda has done amazing things with the company so far, and I see it having a really bright future. I'm really proud to talk about it. As much as Amanda says she brags about me, I brag about her. So this is, I feel like, going to be a great podcast. It's going to be a great addition to the entire non-for-profit organization that you're creating. And I'm excited to see what we can do with it.
Yeah. So get ready to get locked in on your drive to work, on your walk, at the gym. Get plugged into to Get Your Money Right podcast, brought to you by Forward Motion. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things in this podcast because, a lot of times I think we think about money and we think bank accounts, we think investing, we think credit, we think all of these things, but there's a lot that goes into it. And so we're going to spend some time also talking about mindset. We're going to spend some time talking about history. We're going to spend some time talking about exposure, external influence, and different things like that. And then we're just going to talk about what's going on in the world and how it ties into how we can create that life and that legacy that we individually want to create as, I'm a parent. You are a Thea, you've got a lot of nieces and nephews. It's very, very important that we leave and teach the next generation. That's important to us. So moving forward, how and why?
Myself.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Right? Like I'm still learning every day. I feel like a lot of these things that you have taught me and just are teaching other people and that I'm still learning. I wish I would have known a little bit sooner. I feel like I have a pretty good start. But I had a pretty good start when I was younger, just by default from starting young as a nurse and having the opportunity to have a 401k, but I feel like that's just the bare minimum and baseline of where you start. And had I known about some of the things I do now, I probably would have been leaps and bounds ahead of where I am. So I'm still learning and I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah. It's kind of addicting, right? Yeah. When you start to learn a little bit, I will talk, another episode, but I remember, today looking at my investment portfolio and I always think like that started with one $43 stock purchase and then a lot of time digging in, learning about the stock market. So
I will say one more thing is that this is not always like, this is also scary to me. It's not exciting always. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way. And that maybe is what makes people hesitant to look into it or think about their finances.
Yeah.
And this is a way to like, not be afraid and to every time you face it and talk about it and dive deeper into it, you get a little bit more comfortable with it.
Yep.
And a little less scared. So this is where you should start if that's you, being a little nervous.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point that you bring up, Sarah, because everyone doesn't get super excited and start going down financial rabbit holes at 10 o'clock at night and, listening to podcasts about, super technical finance where you've got this droning person who, from the finance world talking about percentages and equities and all of these things. And, or watching videos or digging into SEC reports and things like that. Everyone doesn't get super excited about that. And so the fact that I get excited about that, I feel like I have a responsibility to share, what I learned with everyone I come in contact with pretty much. So you can't stop me from talking. Awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit about like generational wealth mindset, because, as we mentioned, creating generational prosperity is our mission. A generational wealth mindset, I think from where we come from, right? There's, middle class, right? And, some of the folks that we grew up with were not quite middle class, right? I've had friends that I've, had to bring food to, or, thought like, how can I help this person? They don't have, clothes or different things like that. And in my younger adult life, I've been like super not middle class, right? I've had a vehicle repoed. I've, been just about, evicted from an apartment. I've counted my coins to go and turn them in order to go and get some money on my Empower card so I could get through the next day.
Yeah.
Empower, if you're not
We've done that together,
right? If you're not familiar, Empower is a pay-as-you-go electricity service offered by one of the utility companies here in Arizona, SRP. And so you have a little card and you have to go to the grocery store or wherever and load money on it. Then you load it into your little box and that's your electricity. So as you can imagine, if you're not great with budgeting, or if you're just not making enough money to get by, it can be, let's call it a fun game that you play. I would be like, I know they're not going to turn it off.
It's only been this many beats.
Or it's like they won't turn it off after 6 p.m. So if I can get that 30 cents to stretch until 6, I'm good until the morning. Then I can go, put some on before 5 a.m., plug it into the box, get ready for work, come home. There won't be any power, but by the time I get home, I'll have found $5 and I'll be good for the next night. Right. So, I think when I think about legacy, I think of a lot of the fun struggles that I would like to call it the opportunity that I had to go through them. I don't want my kids and grandkids to have to go through those same struggles. And I think there is a mindset in middle class and in poverty mindset of, well, I had to get it out the dirt, so you have to get it out the dirt too, to kids, or I am where I am. And I'm not going to be able to get any further. And so it is what it is. You figure it out. Right. And that's really what I want to change for my next generations in my family, is that mindset of, no, you know what? It's okay if you come from the hood, it's okay to set your kids up for the future. And it's okay to have your kids set up and then start working on setting up your grandkids. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to create an entitled generation, because you're still going to be teaching them wealth and skill sets and teaching and instilling hardworking work ethics. But there is nothing wrong with being able to give your kids a down payment for their first house. There's nothing wrong with buying or having homes that you own and having your kids be able to live there while they're in college. They're, as long as, or if they're not in college, while they're building their first business or whatever path they decide to take, there's nothing wrong with that. And, I think that legacy mindset is something that I see in different communities that can sometimes be misled in my mind. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we've probably even had those mindsets when we were younger, like seeing other kids next to us growing up with those luxuries and being like,
entitlement,
must be nice, and thinking, I have to work hard for everything that I've done.
Yep.
And some people are just getting it handed to them. And it's like, well, someone worked hard for that somewhere, right? So, and that's how I feel now. It's like, yeah, it would have been so much nicer had I had something like that, so that I wouldn't have had to struggle so much, and in some areas we weren't always struggling.
Yeah.
And we kind of sometimes made our
own struggles a little bit sometimes. Yeah.
But, just to be able to provide that ease of, okay, I can just focus on school.
Yeah.
Or I have home to, whatever it may be, to help provide for my nephews, my family, future family, whatever it may be. Like those are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, one of the things that I think about, being Black, I think that's something that's very prevalent in the Black community as well, is I don't want my kids to be entitled. And there's a difference between having enough and having a situation set up for you to where you can focus on moving forward, rather than, having to focus on getting by. When you're in a survival mindset, it's really hard to think about prosperity, and it's really hard to think about thriving when you're just trying to survive. It's like, I'm literally just trying to get by. Like, I remember living paycheck to paycheck and it being really like, okay, like you're planning your whole life around. It's funny. Cat Williams, not endorsing Cat Williams, but Cat Williams had a comedy once, and he was talking about making life decisions at the gas pump. Like, I can't put $20 in the gas pump. Like, I got to put 5 in the gas pump. I need, 5 for food right now. And then I have, and like, we shouldn't be making life decisions at the gas pump. I remember the first time I, started pumping gas in my car, and I walked away to do something while it was pumping, and the whole thing filled up, and I looked back and I didn't care. And I was like, I felt like I made it. Like, I just let that gas go. Like, oh, you just put $60 worth of gas in this truck and, I'm cool. Right. And so that's kind of the legacy mindset that I think is important that we start to shift and change within our communities and different communities all around. One of the questions that I want to kind of talk a little bit about, and what's really near and dear to me, is like, how do you change from wanting something to actually ensuring that your actions and the actions that you take every day align with your desired outcomes? There's something that I talk about with my team is, do our actions match our desire? It's really easy to say, I'm going to, for instance, start a podcast, right? But actually sitting down, writing an outline, setting up the cameras, having someone lined up to do the editing, all of these different things, or getting the editing done yourself, right? All of these different things, they take actions. Like, dreaming is amazing. And you can probably attest, I'm a dreamer. Like, I have these ideas and I get excited about them and I just want to do so much. But I would like to think that I'm also a doer. And I think that meshing of the dreaming and doing is where we start to see the blossoms of success begin to come from, or to come out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I feel the more you talk about something, I mean, it's great, but you got to put an action plan and like set your words in place, because it's not just going to occur if you're not actually putting. And I think about that as you're telling me, I'm like, I'm not as good at this as I should be. We're about to talk about a lot of things that I'm not really doing.
Well, we're about to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, the more that we start to put our actions and these thought plans in place, I feel like, the more it's growing and you get better and are able to see the actions come alive.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because so I read a lot, I listen to a lot, I watch a lot. And one of the people that I listen to is Mel Robbins. She is, I believe, an author. She's a speaker. She's a business owner, and she's really, really super dope. And one of the things that she talks about is the 5-second rule. And she was kind of going through and talking about how, she used to always snooze the alarm clock. And then she created this mind trick where when the alarm would go off, she would count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and launch herself out of bed. And she's been doing this for years now, and it works. It's a mind trick that she created. And she goes on to talk about how the 5-second rule is so deep that when you have a thought, you have pretty much about 5 seconds before you decide you're not going to do it, before you forget. Like, your brain starts to go, you get 10 more thoughts that come in, and then you've forgotten even about that amazing thought that you had without acting on it. And this comes down to, signing up for a course, taking action on your budget, looking at your credit, and really putting together a plan of how you're going to start to chip away, fix it, or improve it. Learning about investing, all kinds of different things. You think about it, even down to like, oh, I got this email, I need to respond to this email. And it's like, oh, I'll do it later. And it's like that 5 seconds, next thing you know, it's been 3-4 days and you're like, oh crap, I got to respond to that email. Right. And so actions are very important, and they all come down to decisions, being able to make a decision and move forward with it. There's a quote, and I might get it kind of butchered a little bit, but the way that it goes is, don't let perfect get in the way of good. I used to be, and still to a point, and I think we all are a little bit hesitant to start something before we feel like the execution is going to be perfect. And the problem with that is, one, it's never going to be perfect. And two, again, something that I try and always lean back on and remember, it's almost not as important what you do as it is that you do. And, there are people out there who are like crazy successful at, I think about, I'll just pick something, like we've got lights, right, that are here in the office here. And I bought these lights to create, better lighting for the podcast. There's someone who owns this company who's selling lights who, I don't know this guy. They might be doing like uber well selling these lights. Like, if you can decide, I am going to get some water. I'm going to put some essence in it, whatever essence is, right? They don't want to call it flavoring anymore. It's like essenced water. And then I'm going to throw some bubbles in it, put it in a can, and I'm going to sell this. I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to go to Shamrock and System Services of America. I'm going to go to these different distributors, Crown, Crescent Crown or whoever. And I'm going to say, I got this best bubbly water and it's going to get on the shelves, and I'm going to put, together. I'm going to get with marketing. I'm going to and it's like, you go do it and you think about it and it's like, it's water. Like, it's not necessarily life-changing, but the fact that you did it and you started and then you were consistent, right? Consistency beats intensity every time, right? You can do something with intensity for 2, 3, 4 weeks and stop and never be successful. You can do something consistently, small moves every day over the course of years, and you were going to be light years ahead of anyone. So I guess my question is, because like we talked about earlier, I can talk, guys. I can talk. I'll be careful. So, decision making is the single most important skill, in my opinion, to anyone who wants to be successful. It's the single most important skill to master, is making a decision, marrying it for the moment, not marrying it forever, right? Be stubborn about your goals and be flexible about your methods. I've got quotes for days, folks, but, make a decision, marry it for the moment, and do it consistently. So, what does that bring up any thoughts to you, like on that kind of vein of decision making?
So decision making in like day to day or everything, just what?
I think
like finances.
Yeah,
jobs,
I think that's it. Yeah, as it pertains to finances, ideas of skills that you want to employ in order to, like, maybe it's, we got the side hustle or, gig economy. I want this. I know that I want to end up here. I can start here, or here. And eventually any of these three are going to get me to here, but I can't decide if I'm going to start here, or here. Right. It's like, I want to start investing, but do I start with crypto? Do I start with?
Yeah. And it's overwhelming. Like sometimes you just got to pick, I'd say just pick one, sometimes people have a hard time with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Do a little research on each of them if you're having a hard time, and kind of feel it out and see which one, you don't have to just make some blind decision and jump into it. But take the time, do a little research. It doesn't have to be this in-depth research either. It could be,
get a little surface on it.
And then, pick one and start. I feel like there's a lot of, and as far as like, okay, investing, like there's a lot of apps out there right now that are very user-friendly. We're in a world of technology where, you can start making these small investments and, see a gain. I've started with maybe a total of $200 in one of these apps, and then I'm at around $1,000, and, I haven't done anything. I've just put money into some companies that I've done a little bit of research on, and very small amounts. I'm not talking large amounts here, but all together have gained, a little bit of extra cash. So I want to start, see that in small amounts, it gets you kind of motivated to see it in larger amounts. And then you start thinking about, okay, well, what can I do next? And that's what I feel like, making one decision will lead to another decision you're going to have to make. It'll keep going. It'll keep getting easier, but you have to start and just kind of pull the Band-Aid or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's called decision fatigue, right? And there's also there's a lot of FOMO in the world of investing and finance right now. There's a lot of, I'll give you a for instance, right? So my brother, we talk a lot about finances, our brother, and he sends me this specific crypto coin. He's like, buy this, right? Put X amount of dollars into this right now. And I'm like, well, what does it do? Like, and that's me. I'm a researcher. So I will, and I'm a certified financial literacy educator. I am extremely, extremely cautious about financial advice, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, what does it do? What is it for? Who built it? What's the utility of it? What's the use? And in the same day, I probably had 5 different people tell me about 5 different coins that are going to be the next big thing. And I'm like, okay, now one of them, I was talking about a different one. And because, Facebook comes out, Meta, metaverse, something I've been actually researching for the past probably a year, little by little, but really starting to ramp it up in the past 5-6 months. And there's a coin that you can own. There's this Decentraland, and you can own land inside of this metaverse type game or place. And I'm like, okay, looking a little bit more deeply, and this coin is like 98 cents or $1.02 or something like that when I started talking about it like 3 days ago. I did not invest in it because I do not invest in things that I do not understand. And I don't have fear of missing out to the point where I make emotional decisions with my money, because I found that, yes, there's always going to be a next big thing, but there's not really missing out in the world of investing and in the money world, because there's always going to be a next big thing. There's always going to be an opportunity to make your money print money for you. And so you can give yourself the grace, and you can give yourself the opportunity to learn about it. And what I won't do is put, I don't mind losing money. Like it happens anytime that you're an investor, but you want to mitigate it, right? You don't want it to happen often. So this coin today, I don't have my phone. I think it's gotten up to like $2.20 something cents. So that's more than double, right? So anytime you can more than double your money, like you only have to double $1,000, small number of times. What is it? 10 times you double $1,000. So 1,000, 2,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32, 64, 128. I think like 10 times and you're at $1 million, something like that. Don't quote me, guys. It might be a little bit more than 10, but it's like you double your money. So anytime you have the opportunity to double your money, like that's big, right? So I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, if I would have put in X number of dollars in this, if I would have put $10,000, it would be $20,000 right now. Guess what? If I would have put $10,000 and it would have went, down to zero, it would be $0 right now. And so I didn't understand it. And so there's that fear of missing out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of that decision-making as well, is a fear of missing out of like, well, I missed the boat on Bitcoin, or I missed the boat on Facebook, or I missed the boat on, NVIDIA or whatever it is, and these are some tickers that I'm throwing out. No, you didn't miss the boat. The boat's waiting for you. Swim out to it and start going today, start going now. And there's always going to be an opportunity to learn. And I think that's what we're going to talk about in a big way. And so I want to kind of close this whole piece up a little bit by talking just a little bit about the wealth gap. So we'll start with Arizona. The state of Arizona has a poverty rate of 14%. So 14% residents in the state of Arizona fall in the poverty range, which is a little bit above the national average of 13.4%. This is according to the Brookings Institute. So these statistics are grim themselves. 14%, if you're in the 76%, it's like, well, that's not a lot of people. But if you're in the 14%, like that's not good.
Yeah.
Right. The U.S. Census Bureau says that 21.7% of Black Arizonans are living in poverty, right? So that's over 6% higher than just the poverty level in Arizona, and almost 7% higher than the country. And so outside of the racial wealth gap, there is a more widely known gap in wealth between the top 20% of the US population and the rest of the US population. According again to the Brookings Institute, the top 20% of households in the US hold 77% of wealth in 2016. So that means that 80% of the population share 23% of the available wealth in the United States. Doesn't sound good, right? So as we're looking at all of the different avenues and what's available out there, I think it's important for us to think about, we're in this together, right? If you're not part of the top 20% of US households in the United States, which obviously most of us are not, right? 80% are not in the top 20%.
Yeah.
We're out here working with 23% of the available wealth in the country. And so when we talk about creating generational prosperity one family at a time, what we're really talking about is balancing out that wealth gap so that everyone can get their piece of the pie, right? And just because, you're successful doesn't mean I'm going to be unsuccessful, right? And I think that's something that we also need to spread, is just the thought or the idea of everyone can have an opportunity to succeed. So that was, I think a good quick conversation that we had. And, at the end of the day, what we're here to do is help you to get your money right. And the type of topics that we'll dig into, we'll obviously get into much more meat in topics later on. But we talked a little bit about legacy. We talked a little bit about decision making and, mindset, core values, being confident in making the decisions that you need to make in order to move forward. And again, whether that's specifically related to finance, whether it's related to taking a course so that you can upskill and be able to increase your income, whether it's learning how to get a better hold and handle and move up in your career, right? Career development. These are all some of the types of things that we're going to be talking about over the course of this podcast. So
exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah, I can't believe we made it through.
So you can find Forward Motion at Forward Motion AZ on Facebook and Instagram. And you can find us on YouTube at Moving Forward, One Family at a Time on YouTube. We are a nonprofit organization, as we mentioned, and so you can make donations to help us continue to bring content to you at forwardmotionaz.org/donate. So again, that's forwardmotionaz.org/donate. I'm Amanda Miller. I am the founder and CEO of Forward Motion, and this is...
I'm Sarah. My last name is Schrader. I didn't say that earlier, but I'm also a part of Forward Motion on the board. And yeah, this was our first fun podcast.
Cool beans.
Hopefully get our money right.
Right.
At the end of it all.
I know, right? I love it, guys. Look for me, reach out. If, always feel free to send your financial literacy questions, and I'd be happy to answer some of them on the air. Thanks so much.